So let's now continue our discussion about some of these core differences between selling and account management. And let's think about timing. Selling is generally short-term. Account management is definitely long-term. Selling focuses on winning volume, and you expect to trade volume for margin. In other words, if I sell more, I'll cut the price. Selling is focused on making the sale today. Account management, though, does not focus on winning volume or giving away margin. Account management focuses on adding value. Account management wins business because it focuses not on product advantages or discounts or volume rebates, but on delivering customer value. In other words, the goal of account management is not to make the sale, but to make the customer better off. If the customer's better off, then it makes sense that the customer will want to give more business to you and will be prepared to pay a premium, because it can see that the more business it does with you, then the better commercially it's going to be. The actual cost of the product may cost the customer more, but they'll be financially better off overall. And of course, this is how you achieve a price premium. Now, many salespeople will talk about adding value, but really their ability to do this is quite limited. They just don't have enough time to understand the customer's business in sufficient depth, and they often don't have the authority to alter the offer anyway. So their role is generally to sell the product or the service that they've been given. Success in account management is almost entirely dependent upon the account manager's ability to identify opportunities to add value to the customer's business. This is the only reason the customer will want to give you more business and not expect a discount. In fact, not only does the account manager not want to give away a discount, because as we now know, he or she must get paid more or remove costs or change the product or service complexion if they're going to increase the margin. So you can see, I'm sure, how this idea of differentiation becomes core to the success of the account manager. When we're selling, we usually find that we have a number of competitors, all of whom look very much like us, with products and services very much like ours, and operating in a way, again, very similar to us. For the customer, so therefore, it becomes really difficult to differentiate between the few high caliber competing companies selling similar products and services. And so this is why price so frequently becomes so dominant in the selling conversation. For the account manager focusing on value for the customer, differentiation becomes clearer, and price, sure, still important, but becomes a lesser issue. But by the way, if you find yourself endlessly talking about being challenged about price, then it's a good indication that you've not really managed to differentiate yourself, and you've really not added or identified significant customer value. So let's summarize. Selling and account management are not the same thing. Account management is the process of developing the working relationship with the customer over the longer term in order to win business and maintain all that desired business with the customer at a high margin. But it demands high levels of intensive effort. And this high cost means it's only really applicable to customers which can offer a high return. Most customers are not like this, so a selling approach makes more sense for these customers. Back to our summary then. Selling focuses on agreeing volume for products and services, often in exchange for margin, and on meeting specific customer-defined short-term operational needs, using a selling approach generally but not always initiated by the customer. Account management is more interested in positioning the supplier as a single preferred partner, and so winning all the available business with the customer at a higher margin, and achieving this by focusing on adding value to the customer's business. My final point here is that for ease of our discussion, I've presented a fairly black and white summary. In reality, though, we see shades of grey. Rarely do we have an account relationship where we're not scrambling to win a piece of business at some point. And similarly, when we're selling, we may still have an eye on the longer term. So in reality, it's not quite as clear cut as I'm suggesting. And a number of companies have found that they can take many of the approaches of key account management and apply them successfully to all customers, even those customers who are not key accounts. The important point is that the level of effort has to be proportional to the size of the actual and potential business. So it may well be worth thinking about how you can take some of the key account tools and approaches and applying them to some non-key account customers. So what I've given you are more like two ends of a spectrum, and it's likely that your reality is somewhere in between. What I don't want you to do, though, is to use a selling approach but think you're doing key account management. If you try to run a key account development initiative in the same way that you run a sales development initiative, then you're very likely to be disappointed. So I'll leave you now to think about how this applies to your own business, make some notes in the workbook, and then prepare for your team discussion.